Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today's journey takes us back to the dawn of the 1940s, an era marked by global tension, industrial transformation, and powerful shifts in American life. And within this fascinating timeline lies one quiet, unassuming treasure: the 1940 D Lincoln Wheat Penny. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary old cent. But for collectors, historians, and anyone who enjoys discovering rare finds in their pockets, the 1940 D penny holds a special place. Its story is rich, its background is meaningful, and its value in today's market might surprise you more than you expect. Let's begin by stepping back into the world of 1940. The country was still recovering from the tail end of the Great Depression. Jobs were returning, industries were rebuilding, and the United States was preparing itself, economically, socially, and militarily, for the world events that were about to unfold. Families were saving every penny they could. Coins were handled daily, changing from pocket to pocket, hand to hand, buying bread, newspapers, and daily essentials. It was during this time that the Denver Mint produced the 1940 D Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin destined to become a cherished collectible many decades later. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln Wheat Penny series was already famous by 1940. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side had become a symbol of American endurance and strength. The wheat stalks on the reverse side reminded citizens of prosperity, growth, and the foundation of hard work that carried the nation through difficult times. Every detail of this coin was meaningful back then, and it is even more meaningful today. This is why collectors appreciate not only its age but the emotional story it carries. The 1940 D penny is special because of the mint mark. The D beneath the date tells us that this coin came from the Denver Mint, one of the primary mints actively producing circulation coins during that era. The Denver Mint was known for its efficient production, but even so, coins from this particular year show interesting variations in condition, quality, and strike. Some came out cleaner, sharper, and better preserved than others. Many of these pennies, of course, traveled long distances, circulated heavily, and suffered wear over the decades. But every now and then, a collector stumbles across one that looks almost untouched, just as crisp as it must have looked in someone's hand back in 1940. The question that excites collectors most is always the same: how much is a 1940 D Wheat Penny worth today? The answer depends on several important factors. The first and most obvious one is condition. A coin that spent years in circulation, passing through countless hands, will show signs of wear. The edges become smoother, Lincoln's hairlines become less sharp, the wheat stalks fade. These coins still hold value, of course, but not nearly as much as those preserved in high-grade. On the other end of the scale, some 1940 D pennies have been kept in extraordinary condition. Whether they were saved intentionally, forgotten in old drawers, or stored away in collections for years, pristine examples are extremely desirable. Collectors refer to these coins as being in mint state, meaning they still carry their original luster, their full detail, and their beautiful copper shine. This difference in condition can create a price range that varies dramatically, from small amounts to shockingly high sums. Another factor that can influence the coin's value is the presence of minting errors. The 1940 D penny includes some interesting examples of die cracks, double dies, and off-center strikes. While these are not extremely common, they do exist, and when they appear, collectors take notice. A genuine mint error can raise the value of the coin significantly, turning a simple old penny into a desirable rarity. Error coins always tell a special story. They remind us that even in a world of machines, perfection isn't always guaranteed, and sometimes imperfections make something far more valuable. But whether or not your 1940 D penny contains an error, there is no denying that this coin has become a beloved collectible in today's numismatic world. One of the reasons collectors love this coin is its historical significance. Coins produced during the early 1940s act like miniature time capsules, freezing a snapshot of American life during a period of transition and uncertainty. Every penny from that era carries a bit of history, making it more than just copper. It becomes a symbol of resilience. Collectors also appreciate how accessible the 1940 D penny is. While some versions may be rare and valuable, others are still within reach for new collectors. This creates an exciting dynamic. beginners can own a piece of history without spending a fortune, while advanced collectors can hunt for higher-grade examples worth impressive amounts. It's the perfect blend of accessibility and rarity. Now let's bring this story into the modern era. When people discover old pennies in their houses, coin jars, inherited collections, or flea markets, they often wonder if they've found something special. And you wouldn't believe how many people come across coins from the 1940s without realizing how valuable they can be. A 1940 wheat penny in high grade has shocked collectors with the prices it can fetch at auctions. There are documented examples where these coins have sold for amounts far beyond what anyone expected. And those prices only continue to rise as more people become involved in coin collecting and historical preservation. Imagine holding a penny that was produced during a time when the world stood on the edge of one of the greatest conflicts in history. A penny that may have been used during World War II, that may have passed through the hands of workers, soldiers, families, or children buying candy at a local store. These stories, hidden in plain sight, give the 1940 penny an emotional connection that goes beyond money. Collectors today look for specific features when evaluating a 1940 wheat penny. Sharp details on Lincoln's portrait, distinct wheat lines on the reverse, strong mint luster, and minimal marks on the surface can turn an ordinary coin into something truly extraordinary. If someone finds a coin that still glows with its original copper brightness, it can become a centerpiece in a collection. Time has been kind to some of these coins, especially those that were set aside early or stored properly. Copper reacts to its surroundings, so not every example has aged the same way. Some pennies develop a rich, dark tone that collectors refer to as patina, while others remain surprisingly bright. Both kinds can be appealing depending on collector preference, but uncirculated examples are always the most thrilling. And then there are the truly exceptional finds, coins graded at the highest levels by professional grading companies. These rare gems sometimes become the stars of prestigious auctions, fetching remarkable prices and drawing attention from seasoned collectors worldwide. Stories of rare coins selling for outstanding amounts inspire new collectors to check their old jars and drawers, wondering if they too might have a hidden treasure. The 1940 Lincoln wheat penny is not only a collectible coin, it is a piece of art, a piece of American heritage, and a reminder of how important even the smallest objects can be. When we pick up an old penny, we're touching history. We're touching the past. We're touching something that has survived decades, traveled unknown paths, and still remains today as a symbol of American storylines. For anyone watching this video who thinks they might have a 1940 penny, it is worth examining it carefully. Look for its shine, its detail, its condition. If it appears unusual or untouched, it may be worth having it evaluated by a professional. Coin collecting remains one of the most exciting hobbies in the world because it keeps the thrill of discovery alive. You never know when you might find a little piece of history that turns out to be extremely valuable. In the world of rare coins, surprises happen every day. And the 1940 wheat penny is a perfect example of how a simple copper coin can become a masterpiece in the eyes of collectors. Whether you're a beginner, an expert, or simply someone curious about old coins, this penny invites you to appreciate its history, its legacy, and its potential value. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating coins minted before America entered World War II, a coin that has captured the attention of collectors for decades. The 1940 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny isn't just an old copper coin. It is a remarkable survivor molded by the economy, artistry, and political atmosphere of its generation. As we explore this penny's story, you'll learn why it is one of the most collected pennies in American history, what makes some versions worth surprising amounts of money today, and how you might have one hiding in plain sight inside your collection, your family stash, or even in an old jar at home. The 1940 wheat penny is more than 80 years old now, and the older it gets, the more valuable and mysterious it becomes. From its stunning design by Victor David Brenner to its connection to the rapidly changing America of the 1940s, this penny tells a story in every tiny detail. Let's begin with its place in history. The year was 1940. The world was deeply unsettled. Europe was caught in a massive war that seemed to spread farther each month. And even though the United States had not yet entered the conflict, the economy, industries, and public mood were already influenced. People saved money, minted coins were preserved more carefully, and copper, which later would become essential for wartime equipment, was still being used to produce the iconic Lincoln Wheat Penny. That makes the 1940 penny one of the final pre-war copper wheat cents minted under normal conditions, and that alone adds a layer of historical weight to it. The United States Mint produced this penny at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your penny has no mint mark just below the date, then it came from Philadelphia. If it carries a small D, it was struck in Denver, while an S mark represents San Francisco. All 3 versions are collectible, but certain minting variations, surviving conditions, and rare errors make some of these coins far more valuable than others. Now, let's talk about its artistic beauty. On the front or obverse, the beloved portrait of Abraham Lincoln stands tall. Victor David Brenner designed this portrait years earlier in 1909, and it became one of the most recognizable designs in the history of United States coinage. Lincoln faces right, with the motto "In God We Trust" above him, liberty to his left, and the date to the right. Every coin minted in 1940 still carries these details just as they appeared decades earlier, preserved through copper and craftsmanship. The reverse of the coin features 2 wheat stalks curving inward on each side, surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. This wheat design is what gave these pennies their popular name, the Wheat Penny. Above the words, the Latin motto E pluribus unum completes the layout. For collectors, the wheat side is iconic. It symbolizes agriculture, progress, and the strength of the United States during the era when these coins circulated widely. Even though millions were made, not all 1940 pennies are the same. Some experienced conditions that left them scratched, worn, discolored, or heavily used. Others slipped through the decades untouched inside rolls, boxes, or coin albums. Those pristine examples, the ones preserved in sharp, crisp detail, are the real treasures many collectors look for. This is why condition, or grading, is one of the biggest factors influencing a penny's value today. When a 1940 wheat penny is freshly minted, it has a bright copper shine. Over time, the exposure to air causes the surface to form a rich, warm brown or reddish tone. Collectors love coins with that original red or red-brown shine because it shows the coin has survived without much handling. If you have a 1940 penny that still glows with a copper-red surface, it could be far more valuable than the same coin that has darkened or faded over time. But what makes certain 1940 pennies extremely valuable isn't just their color or their shine. It's the tiny imperfections or unexpected differences created accidentally during the minting process. These are known as error coins. Error pennies are some of the most desirable collectibles in the numismatic world because each one is unique, a mistake frozen in metal. And the 1940 wheat penny has its share of famous errors. For example, some 1940 pennies were struck with a doubled die obverse, where the lettering or the portrait appears slightly doubled. Others were struck off-center, where part of the design is missing because the coin blank was not aligned correctly under the dies. There are also clipped planchet errors, where a small curved portion of the coin is missing, and die cracks, where small raised lines appear on the coin surface. These rare variations dramatically increase the value of a 1940 penny. Imagine holding a coin where a slight doubling of the date or motto could make it worth significantly more than anyone might guess at first glance. That's the kind of magic that attracts collectors from all over the world. Even a tiny minting error, just a barely noticeable doubling on a letter or an unusual imprint on the wheat stalks, can turn an ordinary-looking penny into a hidden fortune that as you explore the world of the 1940 wheat penny. It's also important to understand the role of the 3 different mints in determining value. Philadelphia generally struck the largest numbers of coins. Denver and San Francisco struck fewer, especially San Francisco, making those coins somewhat scarcer today. A 1940 penny in immaculate condition can attract serious interest from collectors who are determined to complete their sets with the best examples available. The story of this coin goes even deeper when you think about the millions of Americans who used the 1940 penny in their daily lives. It passed through the hands of farmers, teachers, soldiers, business owners, school kids, factory workers, and families all across the country. It bought candy, newspapers, stamps, and groceries. It traveled in pockets, purses, cash registers, and old wooden drawers. Each penny carries these invisible memories, small fragments of real American history, and that's why collectors treasure these coins so passionately. They are not simply pieces of metal. They are pieces of time. They connect us to a generation that lived through the Great Depression, watched World War II begin overseas, and prepared for a rapidly changing world. When you hold a 1940 wheat penny, you are holding the past itself, preserved for you to appreciate and study. As you continue your collecting journey, you may come across 1940 pennies in different grades, from heavily circulated to mint state gems. If you find one with nearly perfect details, sharp strike, clean surfaces, and original luster, then you might be looking at a coin that can command impressive prices in today's numismatic market. Professional grading services often certify these top-tier coins, ensuring that collectors know exactly what they are getting and that the coin holds its value with authenticity and confidence. What makes this story even more exciting is the possibility that a rare or valuable 1940 penny might be sitting unnoticed in someone's collection, waiting to be discovered. Many people inherited jars of coins or old albums from relatives, and tucked inside could be a coin worth much more than expected. That's part of the thrill, the treasure hunt. Every time you check a penny, especially an older one like the 1940 wheat cent, you open the door to a potential surprise. The fascination with this coin is not fading either. As more collectors enter the hobby, and as the number of high-quality surviving coins decreases, the demand for old wheat pennies grows stronger. This keeps the market vibrant and keeps coins like the 1940 penny alive in the world of collectible currency. And now we come to the highlight many collectors love to hear. Among all the examples that have appeared in auctions and private sales, one exceptionally preserved specimen of the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny sold for an impressive sum. In words, it brought $48,265. We take you deep into the world of the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin minted during a defining moment in the United States, when the country stood at the crossroads of World War II, facing uncertainty, courage, and unity. And through all of this, a humble 1-cent coin continued production, quietly capturing a moment in history that collectors still chase today. This video is going to give you everything: the story, the history, the variations, the hidden errors, the value, and the reason this small copper coin remains one of the most meaningful collectible coins from the early 1940s. If you are a coin collector, a history lover, an investor in rare coins, or simply someone who wants to learn what treasures might be hiding in your pocket change, then stay tuned until the very end. You will be amazed by the worth and the market demand for certain 1942 pennies, especially in top-end condition. Let's begin our journey in the year 1942. America was entering World War II, industries were shifting, and nearly every aspect of daily life was being transformed by wartime needs. Copper was suddenly more precious than ever, needed for ammunition, wiring, and military equipment. Even though the 1943 steel penny is the most famous wartime cent, the story actually begins in 1942. That year, the United States Mint still produced the Lincoln wheat penny in its traditional bronze alloy, made from 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. But behind the scenes, discussions were already beginning about conserving copper, and the 1942 penny represents the last full year of traditional bronze cents before drastic wartime changes. Because of this, the 1942 wheat penny holds a special place in American numismatic history. It serves as the final chapter of the pre-war copper era, a moment when the mint was still operating in its familiar rhythm before the emergency shift to steel the following year. And yet, despite being common in worn condition, certain 1942 cents, especially those with high mint state quality or rare striking issues, can command serious money in today's coin market. The 1942 Lincoln wheat penny was minted in two main locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark, while the Denver coins feature the familiar D beneath the date. Both mints produced millions of coins, but not all coins survived the same. Some circulated heavily, others were stored away, some were struck from worn dies, and others were produced in beautiful, sharp condition. And this variation is exactly what creates the price differences collectors pay today. The Philadelphia Mint produced more than 658 million wheat pennies that year, making the 1942 penny relatively accessible for collectors. But here is the key. Most of these coins were used heavily during the war years and show significant wear. Finding high-grade examples from Philadelphia is surprisingly difficult, and this is where the value starts to rise sharply. Mint state red examples with full luster and no wear represent only a tiny percentage of surviving 1942 pennies. These coins were often saved by collectors, stored in albums, or placed in rolls by banks and hobbyists who recognized their potential future value. The Denver Mint, on the other hand, struck about 206 million pennies in 1942. Although fewer in number compared to Philadelphia, the Denver coins often have stronger strikes because of the minting equipment used at that time. But just like their Philadelphia counterparts, high-grade Denver pennies with full luster, strong detail, and original copper color are far from common. Time, oxidation, handling, and storage conditions have diminished the brilliant beauty of most of these coins. Let's talk about what makes the 1942 Wheat Penny so exciting for collectors beyond just the minting history. One of the key highlights is the existence of several interesting die varieties and era coins. These are the champions of the modern coin market, the coins that bring collectors running, and sometimes the ones that bring extremely high prices when they appear at auction. Among the most famous 1942 penny varieties are the double die errors. These errors occur when the die used to strike the coin receives a doubled impression during manufacturing. This causes noticeable doubling in letters, numbers, or other design elements on the finished coin. The 1942 double die obverse variety is particularly sought after. Collectors look closely at the inscriptions such as Liberty, the motto In God We Trust, and the date. If you ever come across clear doubling, do not overlook it. These coins are tremendously valuable. There are also repunched mint mark varieties on the 1942 Denver cent. During the 1940s, mint marks were still manually punched onto the dies. This meant that mistakes could happen. A mint worker might punch the demint mark slightly off target, then strike again to correct it. This creates what collectors today call RPM, or repunched mint marks. Some 1942 D RPM varieties show doubling, tilting, or shadow impressions of the mint mark. These varieties can turn an ordinary penny into a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on grade. And then, as always, there are broad strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, and lamination errors. These mint errors happen because of equipment issues or metal impurities, and they often give coins a distinctive and unusual appearance. Error collectors love these uniqueness traits because no two error coins are exactly alike. So if you ever see a 1942 penny with a strange shape, missing design elements, extra metal, or a shifted image, keep it safe. You may be looking at something rare and valuable. Now let's move deeper into the value discussion, because this is where the story becomes even more fascinating. The value of a 1942 wheat penny depends on three primary factors: condition, mint mark, and rarity of variety. A common, heavily worn 1942 penny might only be worth a few cents. But the moment you move into high-grade territory, everything changes. Coins graded mint state 65, 66, and higher can reach hundreds of dollars, sometimes more if they carry full red mint color or a rare die variety. Collectors will pay extremely high premiums for coins that display original luster, practically untouched surfaces, and sharp details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and jacket. But the real stars of the market are those extremely rare coins with top professional grades, flawless eye appeal, and the best preserved copper surfaces. These coins represent the absolute peak of quality, and they are the ones that sell for astonishing amounts when they appear in auctions or dealer inventories. For collectors, this means that the humble 1942 penny hiding in an old jar, a family collection, a coin folder, or a forgotten box could be more valuable than imagined. Many people have these coins without realizing their worth, often passing over them because they assume pennies from the 1940s are too common to care about. But as serious numismatists know, value is not about the year alone. It is about condition, color, variety, and rarity. Imagine finding a brilliantly red 1942 wheat penny with perfect surfaces and strong strike details. Imagine discovering a double die variety that has been hiding unnoticed for decades. Imagine holding a Denver RPM example that only a handful of collectors know exist. These coins are the unexpected treasures that spark excitement in the coin collecting world. Collectors of Lincoln wheat pennies often say that these coins tell the story of the United States through metal. And the 1942 penny tells a story of resilience, transformation, and a nation preparing for a difficult path ahead. Every coin minted that year circulated through the hands of ordinary Americans living through extraordinary times. These pennies might have bought candy for children, bread for families, coffee for workers, or stamps for letters being sent to soldiers overseas. They traveled through the pockets of people who witnessed one of the most significant chapters of world history. Owning a 1942 penny is like owning a piece of that history. Today, coin collectors seek not only the beauty of the 1942 penny, but also the stories it represents. Whether you are beginning your collection, expanding it, or investing in rare pieces, this coin will always hold a place of value. Today's video takes us on a journey back nearly 8 decades, into the post-war era of American history, where one small coin continues to fascinate collectors, treasure hunters, hobbyists, and history lovers all around the world. Yes, we are talking about the United States of America 1946 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, a coin that looks simple at first glance, yet holds layers of meaning, hidden stories, minting secrets, surprising values, and incredible discoveries that still shock coin collectors today. So get ready, sit tight, and let's travel back to a time when America was rebuilding, society was shifting, and the Lincoln wheat penny was rolling out of minting presses in massive numbers. But within those millions of coins, certain special traits, rare errors, and high-grade survivors from 1946 have become worth far more than their tiny denomination. Let's explore its history, its design, its oddities, and ultimately its true market value today, as some of these coins can be worth far more than you imagine. The story of the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny begins during a transformational moment in American history. It was a year after the end of World War II. The country was transitioning from wartime austerity to peacetime prosperity. Steel production had changed, copper usage was returning to normal, industries were adapting, and even the United States Mint shifted its metal compositions. Just 3 years earlier, in 1943, pennies had been made of steel coated with zinc due to wartime copper shortages. But by 1946, the traditional composition returned, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. That meant the 1946 penny carried the classic warm reddish-brown color that collectors admire. But what makes this particular year interesting isn't just the composition. It's the fact that the United States Mint produced hundreds of millions of these pennies, yet only a tiny percentage survived in pristine condition. Most were heavily circulated. They traveled through millions of hands, sat in pockets, dropped in store counters, and lived through decades of transactions. Today, only a small fraction remain in high collector grades, and those few can hold real monetary value. Before diving deeper into the value, let's talk about the design that makes the 1946 penny so iconic. On the obverse side is the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, created by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can be found on the reverse of some earlier coins from 1909, but by 1946 they no longer appeared prominently. Lincoln's profile faces right, surrounded by the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," along with the date 1946 pressed sharply into the copper surface. Some coins from this year also carry a mint mark below the date, indicating the mint facility where they were made. On the reverse side, we see the classic wheat ears, the feature that gives the wheat penny its name. 2 stalks curve up the left and right sides of the coin, with 1 cent and United States of America boldly centered between them. Above this inscription is the phrase "E pluribus unum." The simplicity of the design, combined with its symbolic power, has made the wheat penny one of America's most beloved collectible coins. Now let's talk mint marks, because the 1946 penny comes in 3 versions. 1946 with no mint mark from the Philadelphia Mint, 1946D from the Denver Mint, and 1946S from the San Francisco Mint. Each of these has its own mintage numbers, rarity levels, and collector desirability. The Philadelphia Mint produced the largest quantity, making those the most common today. The Denver and San Francisco Mints produced fewer, and in higher grades these can command substantially higher values. But value doesn't come only from mint marks. It also comes from the grade of the coin. In the world of numismatics, condition is everything. A penny from 1946 that has been heavily circulated is worth very little, maybe just a few cents or perhaps a little more if it has great color. But a 1946 penny preserved in brilliant uncirculated condition, where the original luster shines and the details of Lincoln's hair, cheek, and wheat stalks are sharp and crisp, suddenly becomes far more desirable. Collectors will pay premiums for coins that look like they just rolled off the minting press yesterday. Another important factor that often increases value is the presence of mint errors. Even though 1946 was a high-production year, errors still occurred, and those errors can turn an ordinary penny into a valuable numismatic treasure. Some of the most sought-after errors include off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, die cracks, and repunched mint marks. A dramatically off-center strike, where part of the design is cut off due to misalignment, can bring in surprising money. A repunched mint mark on a 1946D or 1946S penny might draw strong interest from specialized collectors. A double die variety, although rare for this year, would definitely increase the value. Now imagine owning a 1946 penny with nearly perfect condition, original shine, and no visible wear. Or imagine holding an error version where the minting machine made a unique mistake, producing a one-of-a-kind collector's piece. These are the types of coins that rise in the coin market and attract serious buyers. But history and errors are not the only things that make the 1946 penny fascinating. The cultural and sentimental value of this coin is also important. Many Americans who lived through the 1940s and 1950s remember these wheat pennies from childhood. They were common in lunch counters, grocery stores, bus fares, and piggy banks. They carry nostalgia. Collectors today often appreciate them not only for monetary reasons but also for their reminders of a simpler era. This emotional connection increases the desirability of well-preserved coins. As time goes on, more 1946 pennies continue to disappear from circulation as people save them, melt them, or lose them. That means high-grade survivors will likely continue to grow in value. The combination of historical significance, nostalgic appeal, copper composition, and minting variations makes the 1946 penny a long-term favorite among coin enthusiasts. Now let's take a deeper dive into how collectors evaluate these coins. A coin that shows no signs of wear and still displays full original mint luster is considered mint state. These coins are graded on a scale from MS60 to MS70. Most 1946 pennies do not reach these high grades because they were circulated heavily. But when a coin falls into MS66, MS67 or higher, it becomes significantly more valuable because of its extreme rarity in that condition. Collectors also evaluate color categories. A 1946 penny can be categorized as brown, red-brown, or red. Red coins, which retain almost all of their original copper brightness, are the most valuable. Time, oxygen, and handling naturally darken copper coins, so finding a true red penny from 1946 is a challenge. That's why collectors are willing to pay much more for them. Another important factor is eye appeal. Even if two coins are the same grade, the one with more attractive toning, fewer marks, and better strike will command a higher price. Some 1946 pennies have beautiful rainbow toning due to natural aging, and these can be especially appealing to collectors who value aesthetic beauty. So what should you look for if you have a 1946 penny at home? First, examine the mint mark. Is it from Denver or San Francisco? These are often more collectible in high grades. Next, examine the condition carefully. Does it show scratches, wear, dullness, or discoloration? Is the luster still shining? Then check for errors. Look at the mint mark to see if it appears doubled. Look for any unusual distortions in the lettering, numbers, or wheat stalks. Also check the edges and overall alignment. Many people today find wheat pennies in old jars, inherited collections, attic boxes, or thrift store containers. These pennies often go unnoticed for years before someone finally examines them and discovers that one coin among them could be worth far more than a cent. That thrill of discovery is what continues to fuel the popularity of wheat penny collecting. The 1946 Lincoln wheat penny represents not just a piece of copper, but a piece of American history, minted at a time when the nation was transitioning from war to peace, hardship to rebuilding, and scarcity to prosperity. It carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, whose face has now appeared on U.S. 1-cent coins for more than a century. It plays an important role in the long series of wheat pennies minted from 1909 to 1958. Collectors around the world continue to search for the best examples of this coin, whether for sentimental reasons, hobby enjoyment, or investment potential. Every coin tells a story, and the 1946 penny tells one of resilience, heritage, artistry, and unexpected value. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins from the mid-20th century, a coin that collectors absolutely love, a coin that hides some amazing surprises in the world of rare and valuable currency. The United States of America 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Whether you're a new collector, an expert, or someone simply curious about the possibilities of hidden treasure in loose change, you're in for a fascinating story filled with history, value, rarity, and the secrets behind this iconic penny. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny is more than just copper. It represents a significant period in American life, a time when the country was adjusting to the post-World War II world. Factories were booming, families were growing, suburbs were expanding, and new opportunities were everywhere. People were finally beginning to feel hope again after years of hardship. And in the middle of all of that, the humble 1-cent coin continued its daily mission, helping Americans buy candy, newspapers, and food, circulating from hand to hand, silently becoming part of millions of memories. But not all pennies were created equal, and the pennies minted in 1950 have a special place in numismatic history. This coin features the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that first appeared in 1909 and went on to become one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. On the reverse, the wheat ears stand proudly, symbolizing prosperity, growth, strength, and the promise of a bright future. These wheat ears give the penny its popular nickname among collectors. The wheat penny point. One of the most exciting things about the 1950 Lincoln penny is its minting history. The United States Mint struck this coin in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint has its own story, and each mint mark brings its own level of rarity and desirability. The Philadelphia Mint, as usual, produced the highest quantity. Denver followed with a slightly smaller mintage, and San Francisco added its own unique touch with mintages that collectors often find intriguing because of quality differences and striking variations. What makes the 1950 penny so appealing to collectors today is the fact that it sits at a perfect crossroads of age, availability, condition, and historic charm. Many of these coins survived, but finding one today in high grade, with sharp details, original shine, smooth surfaces, and strong luster, is a challenge that collectors love to take on. Even circulated ones are fun to collect, but the real excitement begins when we look at the rare mint state examples. Now let's step into the world of rarity. What separates an ordinary penny from a treasure worth hundreds or thousands? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, demand, grade, and sometimes error varieties. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny is no exception. And believe it or not, some error types from this year have stunned collectors and auction houses with their eye-popping prices. One of the most sought-after types from this series is the 1950 penny struck with a strong and crisp mint state finish that shows minimal contact marks and maintains beautiful red color. Red examples, especially graded by top companies, are significantly more valuable than brown or red-brown coins. Color matters more than most beginners realize. A bright red 1950 penny can look like it just came off the press, even though it was minted more than 70 years ago. Imagine a collector coming across a brilliant red wheat penny from 1950, perfectly preserved, untouched by circulation, glowing with that fiery copper color. These gems are truly a sight to behold. When they go to auction, bidders quickly recognize the rarity and the competition grows fierce. High-grade examples, especially those graded MS66, MS67 or higher, can command impressive prices. But beyond the standard strikes, what really gets collectors' hearts racing are the special errors. The 1950 wheat penny has several interesting varieties and mistakes that happen during minting, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and repunched mint marks. These errors create unique, one-of-a-kind coins that can turn an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. Some of these errors are so dramatic that they immediately attract attention even from people who normally don't collect coins. For example, imagine a 1950 penny struck off-center by more than 40%, leaving part of Lincoln's portrait visible while the rest of the coin looks like it slid off the edge. These kinds of errors are rare and valuable because they show exactly how something went wrong during minting. Clipped planchet errors give the coin a bite-shaped appearance, another highly collectible mistake. Then there are doubled dies and repunched mint marks, subtle yet exciting variations that specialists love to hunt for. Now let's dive into the beauty of each mint location separately. The Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark in 1950, and although it produced millions of pennies, the high-grade survivors are not easy to find. The Denver Mint, marked with the letter D, is known for producing strong, sharp strikes, but again, only a tiny percentage survive in pristine condition. The San Francisco Mint, identified with the letter S, produced pennies that can be slightly harder to find in fully red mint state condition, making the best examples especially desirable. Collectors often start their wheat penny journey with simple circulated examples, but as they dive deeper, they discover the thrill of grading. A small difference in grade, such as moving from MS 65 to MS 66, can raise the value of the coin significantly. The surface quality, luster, strike clarity, and color all play crucial roles in determining whether a 1950 penny is worth just a few dollars or hundreds. The 1950 Lincoln penny also has incredible historical charm. Think about what was happening in America at that time. The Korean War was beginning, televisions were becoming more common in homes, and American culture was entering a new era of music, film, and fashion. Every coin that circulated during that time carries the vibration of that era. For many collectors, owning a 1950 wheat penny feels like owning a piece of the story of America's growth, determination, and resilience. But now let's talk about what everyone is waiting for: value. How much is the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny really worth today? The answer depends on grade, rarity, color, and whether the coin has any special errors or varieties. Circulated examples are generally affordable and easy to collect, making them perfect for beginners. But uncirculated ones, especially those glowing with that beautiful red mint luster, can reach impressive amounts. Collectors pay top dollar for coins that stand out in both appearance and preservation. It's not surprising that some 1950 pennies have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the condition. Auction records show that exceptional examples can fetch impressive prices, making this year highly desirable among wheat penny enthusiasts. The appeal of the 1950 penny lies not only in its potential monetary value but also in its artistic and nostalgic qualities. The design of Lincoln, combined with the wheat ears, is timeless. It is simple yet elegant, humble yet powerful. It captures the heart of American ideals and reminds us of how even the smallest currency can reflect the story of a nation. And now we reach the most exciting part of this video, the moment collectors wait for, the moment treasure hunters love to hear. After exploring the history, rarity, mint marks, value, errors, and charm of the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, it's time to reveal the special high-value figure connected to this coin. This rare and desirable example, in its top preserved form, reached a value of $32,265. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating, most talked about, and most collectible coins from mid-20th century America, a coin that hides in old jars, dusty drawers, and forgotten cigar boxes across the country. It's a coin almost every collector has held at least once. Yet very few truly understand its historical importance, its hidden secrets, and its surprising potential to be worth far more than face value. Yes, we're exploring the story, the value, the rarity, and the profit potential behind the 1951 D. Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny from the United States of America. Sit back, relax, because this 1-cent coin carries 70-plus years of history, heart, and value packed into a tiny circle of copper. Imagine for a moment the world in 1951. The United States was in the middle of the post-World War II economic boom. Families were buying new homes, workers were returning to factories, cars were getting bigger, culture was shifting, and pennies clinked in pockets all across the country. The Denver Mint, where the 1951 D penny was struck, was working at full speed, pumping out millions of coins to keep up with the growing population and the energetic American economy. But while millions were made, not all have survived in high grade. Some got scratched, some got worn down, many were spent millions of times, and some ended up in jars, hidden away by people who had no idea that decades later, collectors would be hunting for the best surviving examples. The 1951 D penny is part of the iconic Lincoln Wheat series, first introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln, America's beloved 16th president. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin was the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. The wheat design remained in circulation until 1958, and during that time, The penny captured some of the most important eras of American history. While the 1951 D penny might look simple at first glance with its wheat ears on the back and Lincoln's portrait on the front, it holds a unique charm and a connection to America's heritage. Collectors love the 1951 D penny not just because of its age, but because this particular date and mint mark presents some interesting opportunities for value. Denver produced more than hundreds of millions of these pennies, but here is where it becomes exciting. Even though millions were minted, the number of coins that survived in pristine, untouched, high-grade condition is far, far smaller. This is where rarity meets demand, and demand meets value. Think about it, coins were not made to be collected. They were made to be used, spent on bread, milk, newspapers, bus rides, and small purchases. That means most 1951 D pennies lived long, hardworking lives in circulation. Very few were saved fresh from the mint, so uncirculated examples today are considered special treasures. And when it comes to ultra-high grades like MS66 or MS67 red, collectors go absolutely crazy for them. These top-quality coins are the ones that can climb in price dramatically at auctions. But before we jump into the price details, let's take a moment to explore why grade is so critical. In the coin world, condition is everything. The difference between a worn penny found in pocket change and a bright red one that looks like it just rolled off the Denver mint presses can be thousands of dollars. A very worn 1951 D penny might only be worth a few cents above face value. A lightly circulated one may be worth a few dollars. But a mint state, sharply struck, blazing red example? That's where we enter the real world of serious money. Collectors are willing to pay premium prices for coins that look untouched. They want coins with full detail in Lincoln's hair, perfectly defined wheat stalks, and no scratches or dullness. Color also matters. Wheat pennies come in three main color designations: brown, red-brown, and red. Red is the most valuable because it shows the coin has retained its original mint luster and has not toned or oxidized. So if you ever find a bright, fiery, red 1951 D penny in a coin roll or old jar, you may have something quite valuable. But condition isn't the only factor. Error coins from this year are also incredibly desirable. In 1951, the Denver Mint produced some interesting flaws due to extremely high production pressure. These include off-center strikes, die cracks, die chips, repunched mint marks, and even some double dies. Each error type can raise the coin's value, sometimes significantly. For example, a dramatic off-center strike can transform a penny worth only a few cents into a piece worth dozens, or even hundreds of dollars, depending on severity and eye appeal. A repunched D-mint mark, where the mint mark was punched twice by the mint worker, can also add premium value. Some collectors specifically seek out these oddities because they tell the story of minting mistakes from decades ago. Now imagine an ultra-rare scenario: a 1951 D penny in red mint state, with a visible error like a repunched mint mark, perfectly preserved after more than 70 years. That is the kind of coin that makes collectors' hearts race, the kind of coin that auction houses love, and the kind of coin that can turn a small cent into big cash. But beyond rarity and errors, there is another beautiful angle to this coin: its historical nostalgia. There is something magical about holding a wheat penny from the early 1950s. You're holding a piece of a different era, a time when a penny had purchasing power, when kids bought candy for 1 cent, when payphones cost a few coins, when the American dream was alive in people's hearts. Many collectors began their journey with a simple wheat penny, maybe found in pocket change or gifted by a grandparent. That emotional connection continues to add to the demand for these coins today. Now let's talk about why this specific coin continues to attract collectors year after year. First, it is affordable in lower grades, which makes it perfect for beginner collectors. You can start a wheat penny set without needing a big budget. Second, it has a strong market demand because people love filling Lincoln albums with every date and mint mark. Third, in high grades, it offers huge profit potential. Many investors buy rolls of older pennies hoping to cherry-pick high-quality ones that could be graded and then sold for much more than face value. Fourth, the 1951 D penny belongs to a very interesting period in the Wheat Penny series, right before the series ended in 1958. These late wheat pennies are popular because they represent the last stretch of an iconic design. But here is something many people do not realize. The 1951 D penny is one of those coins that can surprise you. It might sit unnoticed, it might look ordinary, it might seem common. But when you find the right one, especially in brilliant red uncirculated condition, the price can jump unexpectedly. Auction houses sometimes report bidding battles over coins that appear simple but are among the best survivors of their year. Collectors love coins that stand out, coins that have the best luster, the cleanest surfaces, the strongest strikes. And because the Denver Mint in 1951 had some inconsistencies in strike quality, finding a sharply struck example is even more rewarding. Some coins show mushy details in the wheat ears or Lincoln's bow tie, but the best ones, those struck with fresh dies, show crisp lines, glowing luster, and rich original color. Those are the coins that end up in plastic slabs from grading companies and become the stars of auctions. This is why searching through old rolls or junk coin lots can be fun. You never know when you'll stumble on a hidden gem. People sometimes discover valuable 1951 D pennies in estate sales, old coffee cans, or even in circulating change decades ago. The thrill of the hunt is part of what keeps collectors coming back. Today's video, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins ever produced by the United States Mint, a piece of copper that has captured the imagination of collectors for more than half a century. We're talking about the 1955 D Mint Mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but when you dig into its unique background, its history, and the stunning value some examples can command, you begin to realize why collectors all over the world chase after this little treasure. So get comfortable, because we are about to take a journey through American coinage history. We will explore what makes the 1955 D penny so interesting, why certain examples are worth far more than their face value, how to identify valuable errors and varieties, and what factors impact the market for this iconic coin. If you've ever wondered whether an old penny in your pocket or tucked away in a jar might be worth big money, this video is a must-watch. Let's begin by stepping back to the year 1955. America was in the middle of a booming post-war era. Cars were changing, music was evolving, and people were embracing a new wave of modern life. But behind the scenes at the Denver Mint, something powerful was happening quietly and consistently: the production of billions of Lincoln Wheat Pennies. The 1955 D penny is part of the beloved wheat reverse design, created by Victor David Brenner in 1909. These coins feature Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing strength and prosperity. The wheat design was meant to honor American agriculture, which was the core strength of the nation at the time. This design lasted until 1958, making wheat pennies some of the most collected coins in U.S. history. Now, even though the Denver Mint produced more than 563 million pennies in 1955, not all of them were struck perfectly. Not all of them survived in excellent condition, and not all of them remained untouched by circulation. That is exactly what makes surviving high-grade examples so desirable today. Collectors want coins that are sharp, bright, and close to flawless. And when a coin has spent decades traveling through pockets, cash registers, drawers, wallets, and jars, finding perfect survivors becomes harder every year. That scarcity increases value. But the story of the 1955 D penny doesn't stop with condition. What makes it even more interesting is the great variety of errors and anomalies that can appear on this coin. The 1950s were a time when minting technology, though advanced for its era, was still prone to mechanical imperfections. Dies wore down, machinery became misaligned, and unexpected errors slipped into production. Many of those errors are the key to why collectors search obsessively for valuable 1955 D wheat pennies today. Some of the most exciting errors include off-center strikes, where the design is shifted noticeably to one side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible. Then there are die cracks, caused when the die begins to deteriorate and leaves raised lines across the coin. Some collectors specifically hunt for die cracks shaped like lightning bolts, extra lines on Lincoln's coat, or cracks extending into the wheat stalks. Another famous possibility is the repunched mint mark, often called an RPM. In 1955, mint marks were punched into the die by hand. This sometimes caused the D mint mark to appear doubled, tripled, or shifted, creating varieties that today fetch premium prices. Some 1955 D RPMs show the D slightly north, south, or east of the primary punch. Others reveal overlapping impressions, giving the mint mark a shadow-like appearance. These tiny details matter enormously in the coin world. Now let's talk about grade and its impact on value. Grading is the backbone of determining how much a coin is truly worth. A penny that looks worn with dull surfaces and flattened details may still be collectible, but its value will always be lower than a crisp, bright, sharply struck example that appears almost untouched since the day it left the mint. In the world of grading, experts evaluate the coin's luster, strike quality, presence of scratches, level of detail, and overall eye appeal. They use a scale from poor 1 to mint state 70. For the 1955 D Wheat Penny, grades in the low mint state range, like MS60 to MS62, already sell for attractive prices. But when you reach the high mint state grades like MS66, MS67, or even higher, the value skyrockets because the number of coins surviving in such pristine condition is extremely small. It's important to understand that the Denver Mint was known for producing strong, sharp strikes in the 1950s. Many 1955 D pennies came out of the press with excellent detail. But keeping that perfection over decades was nearly impossible once they entered circulation. This is why finding a nearly flawless survivor today is such a rare and exciting discovery. Now imagine this. You stumble upon an old jar of pennies in your home. Maybe it belonged to your parents or grandparents. As you sort through it, you notice a brownish, old-looking penny with the date 1955 and a small D beneath it. Most people wouldn't think twice. But if you know what to look for, you could be holding something extraordinary. First, you check the condition. Does Lincoln's hair show sharp strands? Can you see clear lines in the wheat stalks? Are there minimal scratches? Next, you check for errors and varieties. Do you see doubling on the mint mark? Are there unusual raised lines caused by die cracks? Is the strike slightly off-center? Each of these features adds more value. What's also interesting about the 1955 D penny is its place in the broader story of American coinage. This coin connects generations. It represents a time of national growth, optimism, and industrial strength. Pennies like this circulated through hands during the early years of rock and roll, through diners, gas stations, movie theaters, and shops all across the country. Each coin carries a silent history of where it has been and what it has witnessed. Collectors are not just buying a piece of copper. They are buying a piece of history. They are capturing a snapshot of 1955 America and preserving it forever. And then comes the part that excites people the most. The value. The reason millions of people watch coin videos, search their pocket change, visit coin shows, and join coin forums is because of the possibility that an ordinary-looking penny could actually be worth a fortune. While most 1955 D pennies are common in average condition, a tiny portion of them, those preserved perfectly since the day they were minted, can reach unbelievable prices at auctions. There are collectors who will spend thousands to acquire a perfect mint state example with exceptional luster, sharp detail, and eye-catching appeal. These record-setting sales are not just random. They are driven by demand, rarity, population reports, and collector passion. When only a few examples in a top grade exist, competition becomes fierce, and prices climb higher and higher. This is why the 1955 D penny is so exciting. It represents a coin that is accessible to beginners, yet capable of delivering thrilling discoveries for advanced collectors. Anyone could potentially find one, but only a few will find the rare diamonds among them. Before we reach the end of this video, let's summarize the key factors that make the 1955 D Wheat Penny so valuable. First, its historical significance within the wheat cent series. Second, the vast number of varieties including RPMs and die cracks. Third, the condition-based rarity of high-grade examples. And finally, the massive interest among collectors that drives market demand. Whether you are brand new to the hobby or a long-time collector, this coin is one to keep an eye out for. It teaches us that small things, like a simple penny, can carry extraordinary value, both financially and historically. So remember to always check your change. Examine every penny. Look for details. Study the mint mark, because you never know when you might come across a piece that could change everything.